Making it into the top 8 is obviously something that is very prestigious, but this man, he aims for more than just a top 8. In the top right side of Stargazers, a Protoss-friendly map, we're looking at the main base of the beautiful German Protoss representing Berlin International Gaming. This is ShoWTimE.
And his opponent spawning on the west side of Stargazers, map we really don't get to see that much of. He is the blue Terran player, Spirit, playing for Kaizi Gaming.
You are correct. It is the least played map so far throughout this entire season. But as Zombie Grub said earlier today, now that we're making it into the best of 5s, I think we're going to see it a bit more often. Only, I think, in TVZ. I expect this to still be a veto very often. But in the other matchups, I think we're going to see it a decent amount. So that's going to be kind of fun. And yesterday, it really did deliver. I know the broadcast are long, Nate, but if you haven't seen it yet, Trigger versus Australia, Game 5, NA, Stargazers. So good, mate. It was so good.
No, that's one of those ones I definitely wanted to go back and look at. I was a little bit busy. I do enjoy tuning in when you guys are on in the mornings, though, with my coffee. So I've been able to catch more of the Euro matches. But some of those NA games, you're just never sure if it's going to be worth setting the DVR for or, pressing snooze on. So a little engineering bay blocked by Spirit early on. And those guys were putting up a great fight, huh? How about Trigger? I got real nervous there, okay? I've got a lot riding on my boy Estrella. And by that, I mean nothing, but I want him to win.
I mean, Trigger played very well, had a couple of great builds. It was heartbreaking, but it was still fantastic StarCraft entertainment. Now, this can also become fantastic StarCraft entertainment. Spirit loses the SCV, and that's actually very problematic because ShoWTimE is not doing what you would not just expect him to do, right? Where it's like, oh, E-right blocked, I guess I'll just take care of it, then I expand. Spirit is like, you know what? Something doesn't quite feel right here. Why didn't you pull any probes? Why did you already have 2 gases? You're doing something funky, Mr. Mauer. And yes, he is. Spirit finds it immediately. And I guess ShoWTimE could have seen that as well. But this is obviously pretty big for Spirit.
Yeah, that's a huge scout to be able to get. And sometimes if you try to block somebody like on the ladder, they'll just say, screw it. And well, hey, the pocket base is always there. But obviously, that takes a lot of time. You have a lot of probes that are coming off of mining to do it fast enough for it to matter. And thus, a very, very awkward scenario. But Spirit built his command center on the high ground. Like, he hasn't really been greedy behind this. He's, I think, checked off the boxes in an appropriate manner to get into a fairly comfortable mid-game spot. But ShoWTimE also has taken the watchtower with his probe. SCV, by the way, scouted all of those bases on the bottom. So he checked the gold. He wanted to make sure this wasn't like proxy Stargate contain into a gold rush and then mass charge lot or something like that. So he's still just on 1 gas, by the way, which makes me feel like we'll see building command center.
Another pylon in the center of the map, and that's definitely not standard. Like, if you okay, these Marines getting very adventurous, but they will run into the Adept, they will kill it. And now we may accidentally find that other pylon too. As the Marines are going to turn around, Oracle can obviously help out. Oracle will get the full cleanup. Will the Adept live? Nope. So that's 2 Adepts falling. The only good news here for ShoWTimE is that now the Marines did not see that pylon in the center of the map. And Spirit, that's very cute. He's building a bunker on the other side of the map, but he just lost all of his Marines.
What is going on in this game, Roddy? He started a gateway by the watchtower. So ShoWTimE is, it's like okay, so the natural is done. He has probes there. And now he sees this bunker finishing up, and he's going to try and tase the SCV. Will not be able to get it. SCV goes inside. So there's no Marines here yet. He's going to stop at the watchtower because obviously seeing this gateway is going to ring a lot of alarm bells for him. And that Oracle's still on the high ground. But what an absolutely strange situation we've gotten into with this game in the SCV micro. Dodging the stalker shots to try and prolong this bunker as long as possible. If he could get the Marines in there and repair it, that would be absolutely disgusting. But he will lose it. Yeah. However, there's no shield battery here. So what's he going to do against a Cyclone and 5 Marines?
The scan is big. Actually, that allows the Cyclone to just straight up kill that Stalk. And now the Oracle is going to have to show up. And the Oracle will not kill the Cyclone yet. Like, ShoWTimE will never die here. He won't lose the game. But he definitely took a little more damage than I think he ever anticipated taking. Second Cyclone shows up. I don't know if Spirit has another scan. This one, it did not work out as he lost the low HP Cyclone. So ShoWTimE stabilizes, but at the cost of 6 probes. I mean, a very uncharacteristic game so far, right? Proxy Stargate with a gate
This
in the
has been
center of
nuts.
the map, and then Spirit just casually building bunkers in the natural ShoWTimE.
Now, I think the engineering bay, I'm willing to give a pass because I'm like, ShoWTimE's not the guy that proxies, not the guy that does that, but his hand was forced a little bit here. And I kind of like the way that he's turned this game on its head. He still did lose the probes, like you were saying, but what an absolutely funky match this has been. And I think if you miss that bunker for even just a moment, and you get that loaded up with the Marines, and then you have 2 Cyclones pressuring, that natural might die because Blink was really far away when that attack hit. Now it's done. He still has the Stargate, not a huge deal, but has the pylon and now a gateway there. So he's going to be able to very easily reinforce this. And while there are tanks coming through, there's not much of an answer for the Blink Stalkers, as he's going to lose one stepping a bit far into the main base. But I almost wonder if he could try to go for that. That STIM tech lab is still pretty exposed, Kev.
Yeah, but ShoWTimE is definitely in a lot of trouble here, man. He's down 8 workers. He's down a base. He is going to warp in a 3rd Nexus, but it's going to take a long time before that bad boy is up and running. ShoWTimE needs to find some success with these Blinky boys, but Spirit really does seem pretty bulletproof here with 2 tanks out, double bunker, still a Cyclone to help out. Indeed, maybe going for that tech lab, like staying at the far top side of that barracks should allow him to kill it. And that is exactly where he's going to go. Tank is indeed not able to fire. This is a big victory for ShoWTimE, but a much needed victory as well. Now he wants to go for that tank. I don't know. I think this is kind of risky. Does get it, but he's going to pay a pretty hefty price for it, as a couple of Stalkers do fall. Does pick up the Marauder, so gets at least 1 more unit. And slowly but steady, ShoWTimE is clawing his way back into this game. Because a minute ago, it looked really bad. Like down 7-8 workers and a base against Terran is not a place that any Protoss player wants to find themselves in.
Absolutely not. And I think you make a great point too. ShoWTimE, just now getting that 3rd base up, and it's not the one that's tucked in or anything like that. He's moving out on the map. The Marine for Spirit will thus be able to scout it pretty quickly, but he still has not even yet started up STIM because that barracks got pushed back twice more after that original snipe. So STIM is just now getting underway. We're seeing that little supply drop to keep the production moving for Spirit. But I mean, that's a pretty greedy build still, feels like, right? You go for 3 orbitals, you move everything out, and then he's able to make that defense in a still pretty decent way. So while he can't really get as aggressive as I think he probably wanted to, he still has a lot of money to work with. And I think there's still some pressure for ShoWTimE to try and generate value out of these Stalkers.
Yeah, unfortunately for ShoWTimE, he did lose power to that gateway and power to that Stargate. Otherwise, I can definitely see what he was thinking there. He's like, hey, if I get 4 or 5 Zealots here before that bunker is done, my army is actually very good compared to your army. But the Spirit was very quick to take care of that pylon, and now ShoWTimE is here with his sentries, but there is just not a whole lot that he can get done anymore. I still think he is in a lot of trouble. I think ShoWTimE knows that, and that's why he's going to try to drop the Robo Bay, the 2nd Robo. And normally I'd say like, I like Colossus openings, but in a game like this, where we are obviously going to be behind in upgrades, and we have been behind economically, I actually think straight up disrupt this from the very get-go would make some sense here.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Especially like you said, I mean, Armory is lining up very well. If there's one thing that we know about Spirit, it's that he does love a good macro game too. So if he thinks that the only way to win this, or if the way that this is going to go is he can go into a lead as he approaches that max out, and we get to like a 13-minute, maybe like 2-2 kind of timing or something like that, then that's exactly his wheelhouse. Let the game go on. Let him take as many bases as he can, and just start to eat the map. Spirit kind of likes that slow crawl style, but it's double Colossus production out of ShoWTimE, Roddy, and he still has not yet started the range upgrade. So that's probably the only thing I've got my eye on. Very expensive to go double Colossus, but you don't want to miss out on the most important part of that.
Yeah, I was focusing on that as well. No extended thermal lens yet. There we go. ShoWTimE does fire it up, so that's obviously key for him. But I just really think that the moment Spirit right now unsieges everything, goes to the other side of the map, what on earth is ShoWTimE going to do to get a good fight? I just don't see any way that he is going to get a good fight. But maybe Spirit obviously is not as confident as we are in his spot. So he's like, I don't want to do something silly. I'm just going to increase my army a bit more. Maybe he's going to wait for a few ghosts with EMPs and enhanced shockwaves and wait for those 2 upgrades to kick in. ShoWTimE is now in a more playable spot, right, with the double forge, double robo, but would still be in a bit of trouble. And I think the very first time that Spirit is confident enough to move out, That Terran army is going to be huge compared to the army of ShoWTimE.
He's got 100 army supply right now versus 63, and this hallucinated prism will see the drop and actually could make ShoWTimE or Spirit, excuse me, think, oh, something funky's happening here. And then there's another one. Wait, we've got several hallucinated prisms on the map. 2 fake ones also going to the north side. So this is not a move that I think we've seen many Protoss players do before. Definitely funky way to scout, but he actually got all the drops to go away. Spirit thought to himself, one of these is definitely real, but spoiler alert, none of them were.
Yep. I love how he's teamed for 2 out of 3 as well. And that's obviously buying ShoWTimE some extra time to close that army supply deficit. That Oracle is very real as it's dropping revelations, and a Ghost and a Marine are chasing it. Spirit is now even dropping Command Center number 5. It's the most Spirit game that we've seen so far today.
He's like, oh, you're going to make a warp prism? Looks like I'm never leaving my base.
I'll guarantee you, man, if this was Gabe, this game would be over. We'd be 3 minutes into game 2 at this point, talking about how you can't fall behind against Gabe. But Spirit is going to make life in a weird way a bit harder on himself. Is going to have a big upgrade lead, though, and that's obviously very nice for him. And that's something that he should be able to get great fights with. The only thing that I'm starting to worry about is that in the end, it doesn't matter if the disruptor count goes up, because that just completely changes the game. Then we need to start worrying about getting advanced ballistics or make sure that we always have tanks and vision in the correct spot. I don't know. It just feels that Spirit is making life very difficult here.
Yeah, he's kind of, he missed the window, right? To be like, I've maxed out before you now. ShoWTimE is caught up. He's got a very big, powerful army, and Spirit hasn't really invested into the Vikings, so he's going to churn a lot of units through these Colossi if he tries to fight this head-to-head. He starts to give up a bit of the advantage that he had from that early mid-game stage, Roddy, like you were pointing out. And if ShoWTimE stalls it enough, too, he's going into the air upgrades. So it's just going to get really weird. It's going to get really weird really fast. Spirit does land a drop on the southeast. There is a cannon, but no shield battery, so these Marines, if they don't choke themselves up and they stem, could probably kill it, as these Zealots are going to come in to reinforce and save the day. Does get the cannon, but everything else there is going to die. And now Spirit is working away on the rocks, or excuse me, the minerals in his pocket base as ShoWTimE destroys the rocks.
Yep, we already have double starports, so Spirit can definitely produce a decent amount of Vikings at a time. And ShoWTimE is going to test the waters once more here, but the EMPs cover the majority of the Protoss units. There is a planetary fortress. I think ShoWTimE is just looking at this and like, yeah, okay, there is absolutely no opening here. I am going to be forced to go into Stargate units. And ShoWTimE is actually one of the few Protoss players when they start making Tempest. I'm like, yeah, I don't hate it because they're very, 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 very good with Tempest. Carriers, I think, would still be a solid choice here, but maybe ShoWTimE will feel that that's going to take a little bit too long. Spirit has sent a lot of units to the bottom right side, as ShoWTimE has split off his Stalkers in the pocket expand. This is about to get a bit weird too. The Vikings are going to get a couple of good shots off on these Colossus, but the first Novas will push the bio units away.
And there's just really not that many Vikings, right? So he couldn't punch through the shield battery. We have 2 low health Colossus, but they've got all their shields up, and he's still dealing with those Stalkers in his main base. Never really put anything serious there for it. And I mean, this is like the definition of like, okay, a cute move there, trying to just drop the nuke onto the empty space to catch the army. But Spirit will dive onto the Stalkers, clear up on his main base, and 3 more Stargates in a fleet beacon, Kev. So ShoWTimE is ready to take this all the way if he needs to. And I think with how defensively Spirit likes to play and how hard it is to kill a Terran in that stance, we may just get to see that. But a big unsiege, a decent amount of Vikings now with this army trying to be built 4 at a time against the 3 Colossus. I don't know if he's going to do a big move out, but maybe just try to protect that southwest base as ShoWTimE approaches.
Spirit completely forgot +3 armor, so his +3 attack is done, but he's only starting +3 armor now. But I guess it's not so much about that anymore, as it's going to be a lot more about the battle in the skies. And ShoWTimE is indeed going for Tempest. He's queuing up 4 of them at once, as Spirit has a big old drop heading towards the main base. ShoWTimE has no recall available because apparently he recalled to the bottom right side earlier. So this drop is really going to hurt, Nate. This is a lot of buy units, and it's going to take a little while before these Colossus show up.
Yeah, I can do some work on the infrastructure, deny a bunch of the tech, and of course, so getting a little supply block and stopping any warp-ins would be huge. The Stalkers do catch up pretty quickly, though, so it doesn't get too much damage done, and some of these units being left behind are very valuable, like that Ghost. Definitely not something that you want to lose, but he did have a second attack now on the bottom side as ShoWTimE was attempting to secure the gold base while he gets Storm and +2 air. Disruptor shot is not going to land, and this base is going to get killed, not canceled.
Yep, that's the second Nexus going down in this game, so 800 minerals have already fallen. So one Ghost did go down there. That was actually pretty good, cute by ShoWTimE. I don't think he had vision of it, but he just followed the blur with his Nova and he did get the kill. Spirit is trying to display some of his multitasking. There's a low HP Colossus there. I kind of thought it was a target. Yeah, the Marauders turn around and be like, yeah, easy work, easy payday. They will actually pay a hefty price for it in the end because the Stalkers blink to the low ground and they will be able to cut off the retreat path. What a game, Nate. Tempest, Vikings, Ghost.
We're going to see it all.
Eventually, we're going to throw away some workers, I guess. I know we're not there yet, but ShoWTimE has to know that if he stays at 82 probes forever, you're not winning a maxed out fight against a Terran, because obviously the Terrans will work with a few SCVs less because of all the meals. So eventually, we have to make sure that we get a bigger army.
Yeah, very true. Is going to engage in the middle. Lands a very nice EMP across the entire Protoss force. Those Tempests that you were talking about, if the Stalkers cannot protect them, those Vikings have a lot of damage against the massive units. So at the very least, he's going to buy this time to take that southern base. Another sensor tower popped up. I know we've been very emotionally invested in the sensor tower game. So the entire left side of the map is now covered. It will be very difficult for ShoWTimE to engage without being spotted unless he uses Dark Templar, and he is researching Shadow Stride, Roddy. So we are going to see everything. Fusion core, 4 more starports, high-sec auto tracking, and building armor. It's beautiful. Christmas is coming early.
And probably a lot of static defenses in the center of the map as well, because I think ShoWTimE knows that whenever he works with an army like this, as one High Templar is going to get sniped, well done, is that if you just take an all-out fight, you A move, I A move, EMPs land, you lose that as a Protoss. But obviously, if you get the rolling fights where you shoot and you disengage, you shoot and you disengage, a bit of kiting, and then you fire a couple of Novas, that's how ShoWTimE can win a battle. And then obviously, all the immediate reinforcements that you get as a Protoss with all your warp gates. But I'm expecting a lot of cannons and batteries to go down in the center of the map. And ShoWTimE is actually very good in these kinds of scenarios. Just ask Maru. Even Maru has a lot of issues with late game ShoWTimE.
Yeah, I mean, this is a stage of the game where we know that he's very strong, and I'm not gonna lie, this is a very interesting, just a very, very interesting game that we've been witnessing here as Spirit is building 3 battle cruisers. While there are Tempests out on the map, I mean, I love BCs as a response to the carriers. We haven't really seen those as much, but I mean, hey, let's see. It's going to stretch him out. He does have a lot of bases spread all over, so it can work.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if ShoWTimE does not commit to an attack forever and Spirit just stays super bulletproof defensively, and he's able to get not 3 BCs, but a lot more, I mean, then I think we kind of like it. As EMPs do land again, and the Vikings are going to get a couple of shots off. I mean, Spirit is really playing a very sexy game. ShoWTimE is going to try to get something done with the DTs in the bottom left side. And they do have a lot of potential as a command center. I believe that gets obliterated by all these Tempests. DTs have gone for it. They have taken care of the tanks. But yeah, that planetary is very well protected.
And yeah, it's got a lot of SCVs wrapped around it. He's got the building armor maybe not as effective versus the Dark Templar, but yeah, I mean, bank up the battle cruisers at home, especially if ShoWTimE can't break him and the Vikings can buy that time. 3, maybe not the magic number. You get up towards, you get a little cheeky, you get past 10, things start to get really, really out of hand.
Spirit's doing a good job with the Cloaked Ghost. He's getting a few snipes off on High Templars. That's 150 gas. That just keeps on disappearing. Now he kind of reveals the fact that he has a Ghost. There is a observer there in the center of the top side that also saw the drop earlier. That's kind of big. ShoWTimE now knows that BCs are out. And whenever you see BCs, I think 3, 4 doesn't scare you too much, but if it ever gets up to 10 plus, then you do start getting very concerned as a Protoss. As we have nukes landing, probes falling, ShoWTimE still trying to get lucky. This is going to be a good nuke. That's minus 10 workers, maybe a DT as well or 2. That's not working, but a solid nuke there as another big EMP lands, and the Vikings are just going to town on these Tempests. Man, Spirit is looking really good here, Nate.
And he just has the High Templar to try and zone away, but we've been seeing those EMPs coming out left and right and depower some of the infrastructure. Got a decent amount of damage. 18 probes is nothing too bad. I think for ShoWTimE, he's not as worried about the mineral income, though. He is sitting on 5,000 at the moment, but those battle cruisers will only become more annoying as time goes by. This is a crazy number of Dark Templar. Like, oh, you're gonna pre-pull your SCVs, you're gonna try and protect this planetary? Absolutely no way. A battlecruiser did teleport down there. I don't think one will be enough to save this, though.
No, that's a lot of DTs. That planetary will fall, maybe a couple of the turrets and the sensor tower. Lift the orbital. Nope, that's not happening either. So successful DTs for sure. But ShoWTimE, he has to start getting a little bit concerned about this sky fleet that Spirit has been creating over the last few minutes. We're looking at 17 Vikings and 7 BCs. The Vikings, they will absolutely make short work of the Tempest. And I think the BCs are almost in high enough numbers to go for it. They will start going for it. They've linked forward. They're going to try to go for the High Templars. I assume there are shield batteries here. Few Yamatos land and Novas fly forward and will take out 2 of the girls. But Spirit is not slowing down Nate. He feels that he can still win this fight despite the batteries, despite the cannons. The Novas are big though.
It's such a big open field. He feels like if the Vikings can just get this crazy arc, all of the Tempest will die and then land it. They're actually still pretty good against the Stalkers, which are trying to deal with the battle cruisers in the middle of all of this. They have that damage output to punch through the BC's armor, but I mean, the shield batteries are the real heroes of this. This is exactly what you should do when you have this many resources. I know we like to clown on static defense spam, but when you've got 5,000 minerals, spend some of it on batteries covering the middle of the map. That's a fight that I think if ShoWTimE doesn't have those 7 or 8 shield batteries preset, I think he actually just loses right there. But Spirit, that's an army that you really cannot afford to rebuild once it dies, even on as many bases as he's been on. And this could be what an epic turnaround for ShoWTimE as he's going to take game number 1.
ShoWTimE's so good. Even when you think he's in trouble, he's suddenly not in trouble. But yeah, that was an insane amount of batteries to fight in. And basically what Spirit needed there, I think, is to have those 10, 15 extra Marauders that then come in. Once you take care of the Disruptors, the Colossus, there are no Immortals to worry about. You need a bunch of Immortals, Marauders to take care of all these Stalkers, because that's where the batteries don't do all that much. But the Novas were really good on the few buy units we had. And the Vikings, the BCs, they just start struggling to out DPS all that healing coming in from that wasn't even like 7 batteries. I think it was easily 10 plus, right? It was going all the way from the center to the bottom right on the low ground to more at the bottom of the map. There was battery galore. They were everywhere.
Multiple batteries like that is especially good. You know, the battle cruiser has a high damage output, but it's damage over time, right? It's a lot of little hits coming through. So when you have that many shield batteries to use, each of those Stalkers are able to just soak a little bit more. And crazy fight too. Trying to teleport behind. I think ShoWTimE retreated very well, created a lot of space, and yeah, just a good fight to win. If you lose 7 battle cruisers, that's a crap ton of money. It's a lot to lose. So.
And obviously lost the base in the bottom left side, right, to all the DTs. The base above it got picked off by all the DTs as well. So that was really it. Spirit said, I have my dream army. Sure, I'd like a few more BCs, but that's not working out at the moment because I'm losing bases left and right. So I'm just going to go for it full send. And if ShoWTimE didn't have all those batteries, those immediate reinforcements, then it would have been very hard. But ShoWTimE played it very well. He did start retreating to all those static defenses. But I still think back of the first 7-8 minutes, man. Like, if that's a Gabe game, there is a 0% chance that Gabe is just going to sit back forever. Gabe will move out. The moment that Stim is almost done, 80% done, he's already in the center of the map. Spirit had a much bigger army, and he had a much better army for that phase of the game. So definitely a bit of a missed opportunity for this man. But let's see if he can turn things around. In the top right side, the Polish Terran representing Kaiser Gaming. It's Spirit.
And his opponent spawning in the bottom left, we have the red Protoss player. He is ShoWTimE. Playing for Berlin International Gaming. And I mean, that's just one of those things why we talk about ShoWTimE as being such a good player. It's these exact situations, Kev, because Spirit definitely got into a strong place. He definitely had a good opportunity to try and capitalize on that. But you can kind of understand why someone would be like, okay, well, I should be able to max out faster and get into my game plan. But he just didn't make that move out. And ShoWTimE is someone that we know is a macro beast, and just being able to weather all of that and still turn it into a winnable game is equally impressive. But I guess it, as you pointed out, it does help when your opponent isn't Hero Marine, isn't someone that's going to immediately move across the map and kill you as soon as you're weak. And that's something that he can take advantage of with Spirit. You know, these two guys are a little bit similar in that way. Like, there's some punches that get thrown, but you're not really seeing those big all-in type commitments.
And the funny thing is that I didn't even feel that as soon as ShoWTimE did get close to maxing out, that he was outplaying Spirit for like 10 or 12 minutes straight, right? If anything, it felt that Spirit was getting a couple of good snipes on High Templars, picking up a few Tempests here and there, but the game was so ultra slow paced that those units that would normally be important to lose, it didn't really matter, because ShoWTimE could rebuild them all day, every day, and then it would all just come down to one big game-deciding fight. And yeah, it's safe to say that that fight did not work out at all for Spirit. I'm a bit sad about it, because this is obviously something that we have criticized Spirit for in the past, where he is sometimes overly defensive. He sits back when he doesn't have to. I feel throughout this season, to give him a lot of credit, he's actually been switching it up, and he is a lot more aggro. But yeah, that last game was really the Spirit of old, and really missed out on a big opportunity to put himself in the 1-0 lead, if you ask me.
Yeah. I completely agree. Especially, again, you know, the early stuff he did kind of gave him a nice spot, right? Like, he's building a bunker in his face. He's throwing the Cyclones, throwing the Marines at him. But as soon as that first attack is over, he just kind of switches right back into that, okay, just full macro mode, and not having the second gas, not having any tech follow-up, kind of gives that tell that he's going to play for the really fast third command center. And perhaps that's what makes this game a little bit different then, is he does have both geysers. He's getting out the Widow Mine, building the starport. So whatever it is, it should be a little bit more easy for him to follow up if he does deal damage. But at the same time, I still wouldn't be surprised if he just goes for that third CC anyway.
It's a smaller map as well, right? So there is a good chance that we're going to see a more aggressive Spirit. Maybe Spirit just felt that Stargazers, it reminded him a bit of Blackburn, perhaps, where he's like, all right, split map, I can get this Dream Army, and I believe that if I can get my Dream Army, I can get the job done. We are going to see an armory go down in the back of the main base. So Spirit will go back to these permanently cloaked Widow Mines that he has found a lot of success with throughout this entire season. ShoWTimE, though, is building a Robo, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't take damage. We have seen Protoss players only make one Observer, rally that Observer out. So it really all comes down to when is ShoWTimE able to figure this one out.
And of course, the ever legendary Observer getting caught in the splash damage of the Widow Mine going
oh no,
off,
Nate!
Roddy.
Don't you dare! Stop it! Stop it!
I'll try to control my language. Apologies for being so vulgar here in game 2. The Stalker's immediately ready to catch this medevac, so that is nice. But even though he has the armory for the burrow to be invisible after the shot, that is nice, but it doesn't have drilling claws, so probes are able to get away. Does move the third one over.
Oh my goodness.
Yo, nice control on the zoom out here. Shout out to the Observer, keeping tabs on it all. A very hectic situation. He's gonna pick that last one up and go over towards the corner, but the Observer's out, Kev. So 4 probes is, like, considering what was invested for it, I don't know. But you know what I do know? There's a Thor building, and that excites me.
The 2-base store? Okay, I know this from one base, and it's very good from one base. Widow Mine drop, by the way, again. This is so sick, because ShoWTimE has not done any scouting whatsoever. We always wonder if these guys are going to show us some crazy strategies in the playoffs. This one qualifies as very crazy, especially because this is a variant that I really have not seen a whole lot, man. I know the 1-base, but the 2-base one is crazy. ShoWTimE, his Observer, has been busy at home detecting Widow Mines. He's now going to see the boys, and he's going to see a Thor, and he's probably like, what the hell? Careful with the medevac there. You don't want to lose the medevac. That's a big loss. Losing the medevac is a very, very, very big loss.
Yeah, you need the Marines with this too. The Thor on its own doesn't have quite all that power, but it can trade against the Stalkers. Now, the probes coming off to fight the Marines, it's going to cause a lot of these workers at least I mean, at least a decent amount should die. I thought he'd get a little bit more. Okay, up to 7 now. That's a little bit better for him. So the Thor is dead for about 7 probes. Still lost the SCVs that he pulled, though. At the end of it, it's an even worker count, but ShoWTimE has his 3rd base done. So he should be able to get ahead economically, as this is one of those rare moments where Spirit is not sitting on that 3rd CC to back him up. So very cute to see the Thor. Roddy, I think it's a very, very fun strategy that obviously doesn't get used a whole lot, but not quite delivering, I think, what he was looking for with that push.
Well, losing the medevac as early as he did is painful. Don't forget, it's not just 2-base Spirit. It's 2-base Spirit without stim, without combat shields, and without too many tanks. One of the tanks gets picked off in the main base. The other one, I think, was traveling. It has just popped. ShoWTimE could absolutely go for that tank. There really isn't anything keeping that tank safe. And if that tank falls, this could very well be the end. The repair is good, though, Nate. Repair is very good. Wow, what a clutch repair there for Spirit. That's amazing.
Very, very good catch. And the way that he kind of slowly bled that out. If all of the stalkers that were there immediately were able to shoot, then I think he's able to get it. But it's that slow burn of the stalkers running through the base, 1 or 2 of them getting surrounded by the SCVs that's able to stabilize this for him. And that command center all the way on the right, too. I thought that might have been a target that he would go for if it wasn't those siege tanks, but good coverage now as Spirit has most of his own base zoned off. But we talked about why we like this position for ShoWTimE. Roddy, his 3rd base is saturated. +1 is coming in. He's getting charged. He's going into Colossus. So this is what Protoss streams are made of. And we might see ShoWTimE hit that spike where he can have something serious to try and delay that, even just that 3rd base from being taken from Spirit, which we know in PvT, that could be such a tough thing when you're trying to take that 3rd and your opponent's had theirs for a little while and they've got a ton of extra units because of it.
What I absolutely love is that obviously Spirit has shown a tendency to go for a lot of these Widowmine openings with the armory, but this time around the follow-up was so different, and I thought it was pretty brilliant. I really think it could have worked if he was a bit more careful with the medevac, and also we didn't really get to cover it because it was obviously kind of a crazy hectic fight. But at one point the DPS of these stalkers was severely dropping and the SCVs were almost able to keep Big Daddy Thor alive. And obviously if there is a world where ShoWTimE would be forced to blink away, doesn't get the Thor, he would have actually been in a lot of trouble. But ShoWTimE barely had enough DPS, and in the end the SCVs couldn't keep the big man safe. So it seems that Spirit is now just gonna go full turtle. I don't hate it this time around because it's the complete opposite of that previous game. He's behind instead of ahead, so he's gonna try to turtle up and claw his way back into this game with some drilling claws and widow mines, and it's something. Nate, I don't hate it.
I see what you did there. Yeah, we'll see if these drilling claw mines can claw their way through, as +1 is going to finish for him. And I do like that a lot for ShoWTimE. This leans into one of those things that we always talk about with him, though, the wall. He has great vision set up. We've got pylons in the bottom right. We have the observer sieged up in the northwest, and even a second one outside of his 4th base. So it will be very difficult for Spirit to catch him off guard. But a moment's hesitation, one of these medevacs slips through with a couple of mines, and we know that they can kill a crazy amount of probes very fast. Could be the best way for Spirit to get back in this game without having to risk too much of his army being out on the map. And I even like those couple of bunkers at the 3rd base because, like you said, he just knows he needs to survive. ShoWTimE would love to take advantage of the way that this game has started, but he's not going to force it if he doesn't think he can get it done.
I actually think ShoWTimE should just run into the natural rather than trying to do something about the triangle. I think running into the natural would be the play here. ShoWTimE has not built too many probes over the last few minutes, so even though Spirit was definitely pretty far behind, he has actually now kind of evened things up, was even ahead in workers for a split second. ShoWTimE, I think, has seen that all the tanks are indeed at the triangle, and is he gonna go full send into the natural? There really is not keeping there isn't really a whole lot keeping the natural Spirit safe.
No, he's kind of zoning right now with the Colossi, and he tried to send just the Zealots into that natural, but the Ghost immediately hit with an EMP, so that was a pretty good catch. However, there's the Widow Mines burrowing, only getting a single probe with the first one, and 2 more with the second, so good break off at the last second by ShoWTimE. But here comes round 2 into that 3rd base, and we have a decent shot come in. The army moved into the natural like you were talking about, Roddy, though, and there is not an answer for this. That command center gets lifted up, and the +2 attack that's so close to finishing is also exposed. So ShoWTimE has a lot of options for continual damage to be able to take. If he goes up the ramp, he'll be back in range of those siege tanks.
Yep, there are a couple of ghosts on the way, but Spirit needs those ghosts right here, right now, so he can land a few of these EMPs. We do have a triple drop. Jeez Louise, that's a lot of bio on the other side of the map, and I actually kind of like that, especially because his own triangle base is very safe. I was wondering, I was like, does Spirit have more? And I was like, I kind of feel like he should have more. Apparently, this is where a lot of the units, when Spirit is not fighting the Zealots, he really wants that Nexus. Will he get the Nexus though, Nate? I'm actually starting to get a little bit worried. He will end up getting the Nexus, but he loses every single unit.
Yeah, they paid a high price for it. It does have that mine on top of the natural, so we'll get 3 more probe kills. And what an absolute crazy game this turned into. I still think one of the other big things to keep in mind if there turns into be like a decent fight soon is well, that mine is still there, but that +2 attack getting delayed just hurts a lot. So ShoWTimE able to maintain some strong upgrades, as those Zealots are going to be even more difficult to get through now. And as the mines are cleared up, that was a very cool move that Spirit made, but definitely not one that I'm sure he can pull off again. So Command Center wants to go land. There is a pylon blocking it. And with nothing really defensively set up for this, ShoWTimE might feel like there is a little bit of work that he can get done.
Yeah, Spirit is now exposing the tanks. That's problematic, especially because he's double dropping during all of this. There is a double drop heading towards the main base of ShoWTimE, but that means that his army here is even smaller. ShoWTimE, of course, doesn't necessarily know the same things that we do, as there is a speedy Prism flying into the main base with a couple of Archons, and now we could potentially be looking at 3 fights once more, but ShoWTimE has just retreated to deal with this double drop as well. Stalkers could blink forward and get one of the 2 medevacs, as the Zealots and the Archons are having a field day in the main base of Spirit.
Yep, that Prism is still alive too, so Widowmine was able to get a shot, but with the 2 Archons there, I mean, just getting both of those, they're going to recharge those shields very nicely. This is where you don't really see this a lot versus Terran, but it is so strong because he was able to get crazy splash onto the SCVs too, and the Stalkers are ready to push that back. So he's had good vision. He's been able to see this coming. But Spirit has done a good job with these drops. I gotta say, Roddy, I'm impressed. Yeah. Considering how passive of a situation he kind of got pushed into, the fact that he's still ahead on army supply, and just in general, this close resource-wise is very, very, very nice for him. But this will be the true test, as he's got these 4 tanks on the high ground, and there's a lot of Protoss coming in. He does need this 4th base.
And the Warp Prism still being annoying. The tanks are in a really sick position there, though. There is one key upgrade that Spirit is missing, and that is the Hajin Sun upgrade, as I like to call it, the enhanced shockwaves. He really needs it against this many Archons, Nate. That is one of the most important upgrades that Spirit really needs to get on top of. But he is just playing an insanely solid game here. The Thor rush of 2 bases didn't work out, but he's finding Nexus after Nexus, and these Marines are not afraid of a couple of Stalkers. They're not afraid of few Zealots. EMPs land, tiny EMPs, but even those hit like a truck, and ShoWTimE's supply is just plummeting.
Yeah, he did pick off that 4th base. The 5th in the northwest is going to be the next target, and it's going to leave just 1 Marine there. So he's worried because he needs that base so badly, and the medevac's just like, you don't know which way I'm going. Could go back into the main, could drop over towards that 4th if you retake it. Could also come up to the 5th. How many cannons are you about to start? He's going to go for the main base. One of the medevacs will die, but he did put one of the lowest filled ones towards the front. So good control by Spirit will enable him to get even more damage done. And now up 30 supply over ShoWTimE, and still pressuring in such a huge way. Roddy, I really got to say, getting that 4th base up the way he did was critical for Spirit. And he's just done so much work with these drops on the other side of the map. ShoWTimE is taking a beating in this one.
Yeah, a few of the calls to send units out, you think like you need every single unit at home, but Spirit believed that the best defense was going to be some offense, and it absolutely was. That Nova does not go off, so all 4 tanks are still super healthy. We do have a battery overcharge, but this is not even the entire army of Spirit. He still has these medevacs chilling on the left side. They are kind of cornered by Stalkers, but he goes through the middle. Now more Stalkers get warped in there. There were Stalkers at the top, Stalkers at the bottom, and these Stalkers just got warped in. So that's actually very good defense by ShoWTimE again. Man, these guys are really playing for it, Nate. These are the playoffs, and I feel like you can really see the difference between the group stage matches and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's just gotten absolutely ludicrous. Detonator goes out, was able to grab one of the Widow Mines, and he did kill all of the medevacs first. So while a lot of Stalkers died, he's taken away the ability from to split that second part off.
Big flank.
He's hitting from the north and the south, Roddy. The siege tanks are going to shoot up, but 3 Colossi still standing strong. Widowmine detonates onto an Archon, and there is not much left here for Spirit. This army has been battered and bruised. He does have the money flowing in, but he needs to rebuild, and that might take a little bit longer than ShoWTimE will give him.
Very, very sexy flank there by ShoWTimE, sending a lot of the Zealots and the Stalkers across that little bridge. Forgot about those Widowmines though. What ShoWTimE has obviously going for himself is that he is ahead in upgrades because he was so far ahead in this game. He got those bad boys up and running real quick and obviously picked up the eBay ones. Will he see that double drop? He will see it with the pylon eventually, but the Stalkers are a bit too far away for it. Is still, gonna try to hunt it down. That does allow Spirit to land at 5th base. Spirit is also sending units again to the bottom right side. This game, Nate, is just wild. A few EMPs will land, but we still don't have the enhanced shockwaves upgrade, and that really is something that Spirit needs to get on top of ASAP.
The EMP upgrade is so huge for the Ghosts, especially when he's only got one with the whole entire army and you're dealing with an overcharged shield battery. Getting everything revved back up very quickly. Those medevacs running out of energy too while this is happening, and more Colossi being built. I think I saw cheeky disruptor there for a moment in the Dark Shrine. So for ShoWTimE, it feels like he's weathered enough of it. He cannot let Spirit just get this 5th. I think maybe we see something get forced here, but he's still preparing for a big counterattack to come his way. The planetary just finished though, so you kind of need everything if you're going to break this. This could be a critical moment as Purification Novas are going to go out. Colossus has not fallen yet, but Spirit kind of getting the whiff there that might have been just a bit of the army. Yeah, so the rest of it's going to come over. It looks like Spirit wants to set up a flank, but he actually just runs into the rest of ShoWTimE's forces. So can he deal with the 5 Colossus? That's going to be a very big question. Stalkers blink up. They're focusing the planetary. It is popped. And ShoWTimE can continue to advance. I don't necessarily think that he needs to. You just kill the base, step away, wait for him to rebuild, and it'll be easier if he takes the next fight without the planetary being finished, of course.
It really is a roller coaster of a game. There was a lot of potential with the 2 base. Thor, you thought maybe, then it looked absolutely horrific for Spirit. Felt like it was over. Did a great job in just finding his way back into this game. And at one point, I actually thought he had ShoWTimE on the ropes. But ShoWTimE has done a great job in defending like he does so often and has really turned things around again. Spirit is going to lose another crucial base. Will obviously get something done with his bio units on the left side. Is going to try to get a 2-for-1. Disruptors coming in. Novas are going to connect so many bio units. And I really think Spirit is on his last legs here because the army that ShoWTimE is working with is just a lot bigger and a lot better than the army that Spirit is currently working with.
Yeah, what a terrifying situation he's been put into. He did cut off a couple of those key bases, and ShoWTimE's going to recall now, says, okay, I picked off 2 of yours, you grabbed 2 of mine, let's make sure the rest is okay. Novas. But he's actually going to get that base on the right. However, not without taking another huge hit from those Novas, like you're saying, Roddy. The rest of the army is super dead, and I mean, that feels like a bell starting to ring for Spirit, as, yeah, he got that northwest base, but that was his whole army, Roddy. There's 6 Marauders and 13 Marines left. So there are a handful of Vikings and Ghosts, but this is not the kind of thing that you're going to hold off 5 Colossi with.
Nope. If only there were still some bio units in those medevacs in the bottom right side, and you can be like, maybe he gets that base. Can we eventually turn it into some sort of a weird still-made base trade? But that's not going to happen. ShoWTimE's army is here, and it's very eager to end the game. 5 Colossus going strong, couple of DTs in the mix with Shadow Strike. Spirit is going to try to make a last Hail Mary play. Counterattack one more time. The counterattacks have been great throughout this game, but this one looks a little underwhelming. Even though ShoWTimE does not have recall anymore, so he may be forced to cancel this Nexus, and he will lose a few pylons, but I think the real damage has already been dealt.
Yeah, it's turning into a little bit of a wild goose chase. The natural and the main command centers both floated out, and ShoWTimE going to lose that bottom right nexus again. This is the annoying part for the Protoss, is that it is still a lot of work to chase this army, and the DTs can struggle from the EMPs, but another Nova just hitting everything.
Yeah, and there's obviously nothing that Spirit can do that, because if he picks up the Stalkers, blink forward, kill all his medevacs, and if he just stays on the ground, the Novas will find big connections. Spirit is on some serious hopium over here, thinking that he can still turn this around, but we get it. It's a scrappy game, it's the playoffs, and perhaps in his mind, ShoWTimE is not just broke, but ultra broke, and he actually doesn't have that much and takes a bad fight near a couple tanks, but...
He doesn't know about the northwest corner.
Nope,
so.
Exactly. So he's like, maybe we can even get this a draw eventually, right?
We're both broke. Neither of us have anything, right? Right? No. Then, to quote one of my favorite European StarCraft players of history, you have to Luca di Supply, Ronnie.
StarCraft?
Well, he's played a lot of games. I guess he's the old man of our scene now, right? Kappa.
I heard he's great in PUBG, man.
I'm gonna get blocked again. Okay. It's been a while. It's been a while. Sometimes it's fun to just feel something, Kev.
Yep, Spirit does find the base at 9 o'clock, and obviously he knows that he is in a world of trouble. Collecting his absolute last few pennies of the triangle base, has 2 tanks, a few Marines, Marauders, does finally have +3 attack. Oh yeah, this one is ultra over ShoWTimE, even though it really hasn't been super convincing, super close, super straightforward. Is gonna take the 2-0 lead in a very important best of 5 here in the lower bracket. The final medevacs will fall. The final Marines and Marauders, every time they stim now, they won't get their HP back anymore. 2 tanks is terrifying, but not all that terrifying. With this many product units, GG gets called. ShoWTimE takes a 2-0 lead. And honestly, an excellent best of 5 so far.
Yeah, both games have gone the distance. I think it's pretty fair for us to say that either one of them have had a lot of opportunities in each game. That first game could have easily gone Spirit's way. Decided to slow things down, press the brakes once he got the lead. ShoWTimE took advantage of that and did what he does best, turns into that macro monster that we know he is. Game 2, it's a little bit more scrappy. I mean, I didn't expect to get to commentate a Thor rush today, but hey, you take what they'll give you, and that was certainly an interesting move that could have paid off a little bit better. But that's always been, to me, one of ShoWTimE's biggest strengths. He's just so freaking hard to kill in the first 10 minutes. He is really a tough guy to take out of a game.
Yeah, it was a really cool build, and Spirit got, I think, a bit unlucky with the repair on the Thor, because he was so close to actually out-repairing the DPS that those Stalkers were dealing, and then it would have been a completely different game. At that point, I was like, yeah, he's kind of super dead. He had 3 base, Blink is done, but saved that 1 tank, and that really gave him a lifeline in this game, because I think if the tank would have died in the natural, ShoWTimE wipes in a few more Stalkers, gets the final tank, and it's game over. At one point, Nate, I really thought he was winning when he had that 4 tank setup going. He still had all the medevacs in between the base in the main and the base at 9 o'clock. There was a big moment a little bit before that where he went into the main, and he indeed did that cute little thing that you said, where he looked at his medevacs. There was 1 full HP medevac with only 2 units. He sent that one forward. You're going to soak up the shots, unload. But after he saw the recall of the Colossus, I would have loved to see him pick up and immediately attack the base at 9 o'clock, because that base was wide open, no cannons, no batteries, no units in place. But because he kept the medevacs in between those 3 bases, he gave ShoWTimE time to actually get Stalkers in every single angle. And then it was a lot more about that fight on the right side, where ShoWTimE just had a great engagement and started turning things around again. But it was a great effort by Spirit, and it's not easy to play a game from that far behind as a Terran and get yourself in such a great spot. It's just a shame that he couldn't close it out.
Yeah, opportunities been coming up, but it is just not been coming out in favor of Spirit as we go to game 3, and he's gotten into that good spot a few times now. I mean, you said it, but those big drops that he was hitting with constantly just really seemed to finally take ShoWTimE's ability to get on the map away from him, and he just, I mean, he's Demour for a reason. He's a very difficult man to kill, and for that reason, he is up 2-0 in our second best of 5 of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, he is ShoWTimE.
As you guys can see above the minimap, lower bracket at round 2, and that means that if you win this best of 5, you make it into the top 8 of the European scene. In the bottom left side, we're looking at the main base of the Polish Terran. He's playing a good best of 5 so far, but unfortunately for him, he's still down 0-2. This is SkyZ Gaming's Spirit.
Yeah, It just feels so tough because what else is there really left to say? You know, try something crazy. Well, he did try something crazy in game 2. Didn't really work out that well. And I think you could even argue that there was a little bit of madness, that aggression in game 1, considering that he did get proxy stargated, had a good read on that, tried to make that counterattack and couldn't really do enough after he killed the probes, right? And just went back into that passive style. So I don't really know what to expect from Spirit here. Maybe this is where he just says screw it, and he's not going to try and play to whatever he thinks he should do, and he'll just do his thing and be very greedy and see if ShoWTimE decides to get aggressive or not. But either way, winning 3 games in a row against this handsome German Protoss player is going to be a Herculean feat.
Mm-hmm. It is a Marine opening, not a Reaper, and that could give us the idea that maybe Spirit wants to be a bit aggressive in the early mid-game. ShoWTimE has played both openings now, the Twilight and the Stargate. Okay, it's Marine into Reaper. Kind of cute because it kind of messes up the timings and gives ShoWTimE perhaps the wrong idea at first, because you don't really expect a Reaper after a Marine. I think it is going to be Stargate though, so as much as I love like a Hellion drop, I personally think that would be very risky if you're down 0-2 and your opponent does go Stargate. If they have perfect defense, you're just pretty much down and out. So I hope that Spirit just does something very solid with a bunch of Marines, maybe Cyclone Viking, if it is a Stargate opener.
I think that's a very fair way to look at it. It is. So that Stargate's booting up, Roddy, and the Nexus and the Natural is finishing. So let's see where Spirit will take it then. He does start that second gas just a little bit later after he has the bunker going up in the Natural. So nothing that's really giving away.
Hey.
That next
First Adept is pretty far off position, by the way. So this Reaper should A, get a good scout off, and B, should at least be able to get 1 probe. If we are going to sacrifice... Oh, you don't want to lose the Reaper without getting the probe, then please tell me he saw the Stargate, Nate. He didn't see the Stargate. Oh my goodness, this Reaper had potential, but Spirit, he saw gold, he saw greed, he wanted to go for the exposed probes. Well, instead of just going in a bit deeper and then going for a probe, and that's really bad, losing the Reaper and still not knowing what you're playing against.
Yeah, no information, no damage inflicted, and we'll still see these Adepts try and come be annoying. And typically, you know, Terran's paying attention. Just close the door. Don't let the shades go into your main base. Might try to dance against the rest of these units and let that shade finish up.
But this is bad though, because we don't have too much anti-air on the side of Spirit, and that means that this first Oracle is going to have all the potential in the world. That Adept actually cancels the shade, wants to get the Hellion as well, won't get the Hellion, but I think ShoWTimE saw the Widow Mine there, if he was paying attention. But that one mine is basically all the anti-air that Spirit currently has, because those 2 Marines, that's not going to be enough to deal with an Oracle. ShoWTimE is off to an absolutely flying start here in game 3, unless he loses the Oracle, but Mr. Mauer doesn't lose Oracles very often.
No, he does not. The Widow Mines, like you said, there is one burrowed in the mineral line of the main base. The other one is headed to burrow underneath the starport, so maybe he's thinking about another one just flying straight through, or a Phoenix or whatever. But the one Hellion checks and confirms that the third base is being made, and ShoWTimE just kind of looks around with that second Oracle and brings it home. So he's just chilling, not looking to force anything, as Spirit loads up a medevac and is immediately spotted by the Oracle.
Yep, I still like this idea because I think Spirit obviously knows that this early game has not been very pretty. ShoWTimE, is he paying attention? Ooh, that got very close, but in the end, ShoWTimE is paying attention. And now Spirit is going to have to disengage because ShoWTimE is chrono boosting out a Phoenix. The second Phoenix is on the way. I almost feel that Spirit needs to do something wild here, like I want to say go early with the Cyclone and the Vikings, but he has no Cyclone. Where are those mines? Is there at least one mine chilling somewhere? I don't see them. I think both of them. Okay, there is a mine still hidden there, and that gets the connection with the Oracle. So finally, one thing going Spirit's way in this game.
Yeah, that's a very nice grab to be able to get. And sometimes when the Oracle comes in close like that and the mine detonates, the splash damage goes over the SCVs and the second Oracle can get a lot done, but that did not happen this time for Spirit. So a nice break there, but worth again mentioning that ShoWTimE's on 3 bases. He's got his setup. It's 52 probes to 39 SCVs. So the money is there. And for Spirit, he's just looking poised right now on this 2-base setup to maybe, I don't know. I don't really see where a timing falls into this because he's going reactored Widow Mines So unless his plan is to just try and take a third and drop or something, I feel like this has to just be some sort of big 2-base attack. He's getting an armory now too, so I don't know.
It could permanently cloak the mines, right? Because he does have a couple of mines in the bottom right side. Yeah, so he could still play this out in 2 different ways. At first, I was like, maybe just an SCV pull. We make 2 medevacs, and we're going to pull a lot of SCVs, and we're going to try to punish ShoWTimE. If he waits a bit longer, the first Colossus will come out, and Colossus are going to be so incredibly good against everything that Spirit is currently working with. It really does feel that Spirit's idea is, let's go ahead and hit a wombo combo, surprise him with a very quick armory. Hope that the Widow Mines can deal a lot of damage in the main base in the natural. And there is a world where this works out for Spirit, because it's 40 army supply against 40 army supply. ShoWTimE doesn't quite know yet about the medevacs are heading his way. That main army needs to reveal itself before the drops do, Nate. I think that's very important for Spirit here.
Yes, and he needs to make sure he doesn't step into that stasis trap too. While he approaches that base. That drop is going to hit the main. The Phoenix have been baited over. 2 Widow Mines are going to burrow. Well, one of them will head over towards the natural, maybe try to cut the ramp off. And does get a single hit on the probes, but there's a decent amount of Marines here that can get some work done if there's nothing to defend. So Charizards will dive onto them. He's only lost 4 so far, but this is that awkward situation, right? You just need to make sure you have an observer, need to get rid of those mines if they don't get that secondary shot off, or if probes come back.
Yeah, and I don't think that ShoWTimE necessarily kept track of the other Widow Mine, as he is now going to take care of the medevacs, going to lift a few of the Marines. I feel like this was pretty good by Spirit, because obviously during all of this, the 3rd command center is finishing up, and he is actually closing the economic deficit by a decent amount. A bit of lost mining time took place in the main base as well. Now that mine in the main is going to reveal itself. Very annoying, actually, because ShoWTimE just queued up like 5 buildings with that probe. Double forts, couple gateways, and now all of that got denied. So I hope for ShoWTimE that he keeps track of that. It was pretty good, but it had more potential, I think.
Definitely. Double Forge, Roddy, does get started up. And, you know, as far as other interesting comments to make on this match go, he's going for +1 armor. Did not build a second engineering bay. So even though this armory was done very early for the mines, he's not leveraging it to get better upgrades faster. So that +2 attack is not going to come in at some crazy timing where there just won't be any upgrades for ShoWTimE. The Forges should be able to finish and line up with that before it gets out of hand. And there's also the Ghost Academy, probably one of the best things that Spirit is able to do compared to other Terrans. He's always getting those ghosts out very fast, even if it's not always the High Templar coming first.
I don't know if there's too much hope for his army here, though. Like with 1 Viking against 2 Colossus, the 3rd one is on the way. Unless the Widow Mines can get magical connections, but that shouldn't normally happen. 1 mine is going to fire. The Zealots are storming up towards the left, but the force fields will keep the key robo unit safe. We had a little bit of a mine drop. Oh my goodness, that is a cash money hit. Spirit gets 15 probes with a single Widow Mine. And ShoWTimE thought both of them fired. Only one of them fired. Oh, that's big. And 1 more mine is going to fire again in the natural. Does it go for the probes? Nope, settles for a Zealot. Massive drop maybe in the main base, but there are so many Phoenixes.
He's thinking about just going full YOLO mode there. I mean, if there's anything that's going to get you back into a game that was kind of going awkwardly, it's killing 16 pros with a single Widow Mine shot, Kev. So Spirit feeling good, looking alive here in this one. And now he's got multiple troops, multiple forces out on the field. He's pressuring with that drop in the main base like you were talking about, but he has another attack headed towards the 3rd. And if he sees that the Phoenix are out of position, I wonder if we'll see him force that drop. Worth pointing out, he has both towers. He will see if he loads this up. So Widow Mine gets the Oracle, though, as he went for a revelation on the medevacs.
Yep, these mines have really been a pain in the butt for ShoWTimE. I said, oh my goodness, because Spirit is now queuing up +2 armor, Nate, before +2 attack. At least there is a second eBay finishing up, but yeah, that's not stuff we normally do as a Terran player. It does fire up +2 immediately, so at least he is on top of it. I find it fascinating that these games have been super unpredictable, right? The start was so incredibly good for ShoWTimE. This game was supposed to be a walk in the park. And in the last minute and a half, he has made it very difficult on himself. And Spirit has once more turned an almost unplayable scenario into definitely a playable one. This time around, he is going to get the enhanced shockwaves as well, as that Widow Mine just connects again, softens up all the sentries. That mine has been insane.
Yeah. The Widow Mines have generated crazy value, and there's even still another one behind it if the Phoenix stepped too far back. But these bio units pushing up a ramp when there's not anything on the other side of it other than an army. Maybe not the move that he wants to go for. And as Force hits the northwest side of things, gets the EMP on all of the Zealots. So I'm not feeling like he can push in. And the enhanced shockwaves upgrade this time, I know we mentioned this a few moments in this series. It's going to come much earlier this time around as he's got it halfway done. So those EMPs will be even juicier.
Yep. Super impressed by Spirit. He has really played incredibly well in Game 2 and Game 3 after just horrific starts where you think it's super over, it looks super over, games are supposed to be over against someone who's as good as ShoWTimE. But Spirit finds a way back into these games. Now he needs to actually close it out. He's obviously not ultra far ahead or anything, but he's got a good army. We went from 1 Viking all the way up to 8 Vikings. We went from almost no ghosts to 8 ghosts with enhanced shockwaves as well, finishing up now. I think the only thing we could wait for, Nate, is let's say +2. Let's wait until +2 attack kicks in for the bio units. And then I think Spirit has the army to get a good fight. But of course, it always comes down to execution against the Disruptors.
Yeah, and now this Widow Mine is finally going to get killed. So this was kind of the bane of Spirit's life with these attacks, is that the vision was there for ShoWTimE, since the towers just did not get cleared for a long while. And he finally gets through that one, and an Observer is going to set up to watch for that drop down. But the +2 attack is done. We have a Fusion Core finishing up, +2 air. So I'm expecting this to be more on the Liberator variety of upgrades. Yep, there it is, Advanced Ballistics.
Oh, Colossus.
So that could get tricky down the line.
Colossus were getting very far ahead of themselves and way ahead of the rest of the army, and Nova is going to get used though to zone those bio units back. Spirit just got a decent amount of shots up. He's thinking still about this big drop. No, I don't know about this. There's
oh
so
my
many
God.
cannons, battery overcharge, but there weren't too many weapons available, and Spirit is going to drop into something that really looked undroppable. But I want to say so far it's kind of working out. Even though the Vikings are taking a bit of a poor fight against that one Archon and the Phoenix, but they are going to win it in the end. And Spirit was forced to pick up all these bio units again. That was insane. It looked like you couldn't ever drop there, but that actually worked out, man. That was a little victory for Spirit in the end.
Yeah, the Colossus trying to walk up the cliff with no support there. The Vikings were perfectly poised to cut that off. And let's not forget, the Liberator upgrades are coming through. He's making 4 at a time. And once the Liberators are on the field, he's going to be dealing with the extended range that they're going to have. They're going to be two-shotting everything. And, well, there's less cannons this time, so even better. Big drop into that main base. And, well, the Stalkers are here to protect the Colossus, though we don't have the Vikings with this anymore. But they actually do come in from that south side.
Yeah,
going to get one of them.
Actually pretty big. And once more, a lot of the medevacs were able to evacuate these bio units out. Oh, my goodness. ShoWTimE didn't have Blink. Okay.
What?
Yep. Well, that is one thing that I didn't keep track of. I just kind of figured that they always have Blink. I know we opened up with Phoenix Zealot, but didn't think that he wouldn't have Blink. Maybe thought that the Phoenixes would always keep him safe when it came down to mobility, and it wasn't so much about the Stalkers. But and that makes these Stalkers very clumsy in defending against drops.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem, especially since we know these Liberators are about to be a huge pain in his side, and the air support is all gone for ShoWTimE. There's no more Phoenix, no more Oracles. So these Liberators going to be pretty difficult to contest. And I think for ShoWTimE, you need to start locking down your bases and making a move maybe towards something that can handle that, because these Liberators are only going to continue to increase in number. And when we've seen ShoWTimE play these long games, or Spirit rather, those Liberators that he leans on a lot have been very impactful.
Yep. So I think for now, when it comes to ShoWTimE side of this game, it's going to be a lot about mobility, trying to outmaneuver the Terran army, drop a couple force fields, shave off Liberators whenever you can. And he's going to need a few air units defensively, because these Libs are going to be ultra annoying when it comes to denying mining time, as 5 probes have fallen against just the first Liberator. We do see the fleet beacon and extra stargates go down. Can't believe we got here. Spirit really has played an amazing game from what was honestly one of the worst starts that I think he could have possibly wished for. But it started off with the Reaper not even getting the scout off. That's when he made the Hellion. That was obviously not very useful anymore. It was all very bad, but he has really turned this into something. Can we now capitalize on all these efforts, all that hard work? And can we finally close out a game, or will it be ShoWTimE once more?
And he finishes up his Blink at the same time as his Dark Templar Blink, so we might see some Shadow Stride boys jumping in for damage down the line. if there is somewhere that they can wind through. But the coverage of the missile turrets at all of the entrances has been pretty nice as well. There's not a lot of spaces or gaps that he can take advantage of. And there is a lone Phoenix trying to deal with the Liberator that's sieging up on the north side.
I was keeping an eye on that as well. A couple of EMPs land. Liberators will definitely keep this base safe. But ShoWTimE is going to do this all day, every day. Just rotate this army around and look for that one moment where he could land a big Nova on the Ghost, where he could catch these Liberators napping. And Spirit is sending out a triple drop into the top left side. There are a couple of cannons, and ShoWTimE is going to use the recall. Does not want to lose that base. How much did he recall? Not the entire army, so still has a lot of units to worry about. These Widow Mines got some big shots off there, Nate. And these Marauders are problematic. And the Stalkers blink. Yes, they can. Will they blink? Hello? Oh, a bit late. Okay. We'll get it.
Yeah, there. Some lonely looking disruptors there, a little bit in front of the rest of the army, but not quite envisioned to jump on there. This Liberator count, we've talked about it, is just so huge. Attacking into this would be catastrophic if ShoWTimE gets his Stalkers in range of them. But yeah, he doesn't have the support for the bio units, and this is what we wanted to see was the Tempest come out. But that nuke.
Ooh, so close.
Got the shields off of one of the Stalkers with that one, just barely, and some mines hit the northwest side. But the Tempests are a great answer to the Liberators, and to your point, Roddy, without the energy to heal these bio units up, the Stalkers can kind of slowly overwhelm them. The Tempest deal with the Liberators, the Stalkers kind of go through everything else, because obviously a lot of that army supply has just turned into these air units, so he doesn't have as much bio anymore.
Oh, Liberators kind of left behind. Stalkers blink forward immediately. Oh no, Spirit left his Liberators unattended, and ShoWTimE jumped on that immediately. And there's still, well, we have now 4 metapacks, so we can start healing up these bio units again, but the Novas will start flying forward. Bio units are stuck. And after all the great efforts of Spirit, it once more feels that he is in a bit of trouble. After losing a couple of key units, mass repair on the planetary is not enough. Another bio ball goes down as well to one more purification Nova. Spirit may get one Nexus on the left side with a couple of Marines and Marauders, but losing all these lips is so damn painful.
That was a very, very, very huge pickup. The fact that those Liberators had basically been the only thing keeping ShoWTimE away from him and protecting those bases, that without them, now he's just got 1 or 2 at a time, and all you need is the Tempest. Just get right click, and you're going to be able to get rid of the rest of them very easily. So the bio wants to jump forward. They want to get into this and fight against this, but now everything's been opened up on the backside because he needs all hands on deck. Those Marines and Marauders trying to take out the northwest base, but he's got DTs in his third, 14 SCVs dead, a couple of exposed orbital commands, and warped in DTs protect that northwest base. He was not able to kill the pylons in time, and thus ShoWTimE continues his march forward, and he has just looked unstoppable in this series. Roddy, Spirit has the bottom right base. ShoWTimE does not appear to be aware of that, as maybe the biggest advantage that we can find for Spirit at the moment. And of course, his army is still pretty strong. I don't think you want to lose everything if you're ShoWTimE, but that's what the disruptors are for. They're going to zone that bio away beautifully.
Yeah, ShoWTimE is really good in preventing that from happening. I think a lot of Prolus players will find themselves in a situation where they feel that this is the correct comp, but then the Terran army just gets a great engagement, lands a couple of EMPs, and you lose everything while killing like 20 supply. ShoWTimE is an absolute master in preventing them from taking place, but if there is one thing that has really stood out for me in this entire best of 5, Nate, is that both of them have been playing better whenever they are behind. Well, Spirit has once more been a bit behind. Let's see if he can make another comeback in the same game, as we could get Liberators sieging up here as the Nova to get really good connections though.
There's just so many disruptors, and the rest of the Protoss army coming in from back did not use a recall. Don't know if he had it available. Big Liberator siege up on the ramp, but the DTs are ripping them apart now too, and he's gonna warp in another big wave of Zealots to get involved with this. The ability to zone away the Tempest is completely gone too, as he's of course got that vision for that very long anti-air range. The Libs are dead, and so is the rest of the bio here. Maybe this medevac gets away, but not a lot left for Spirit on his half of the map. Most of his bases all destroyed. Just has a couple of pennies trickling in from that bottom expansion.
And ShoWTimE so ahead of it. Already recalls to the top left side, and that allows these Stalkers to jump on top of these medevacs before the Marauders were even there to protect it. ShoWTimE is all over Spirit at this point. It seems that he said enough is enough. No more comebacks in this best of 5, and I think in the end ShoWTimE dealt with all of that in an excellent manner. and he is seconds away from closing this best of 5 out, getting another victory over Spirit, and securing his ticket into the top 8 of the DreamHack Masters Atlanta Europe Regionals. GG Gats.